So football season's almost back. We've got college football kicking off this weekend. We've got the NFL starting in just a couple of weeks. That's exciting. It got me excited. I was thinking about how excited I am. But in my excitement, in my thinking, I reminded myself of a thought that I feel like I'm always having, which is that football season goes by really fast. Like way too fast. Every single year, no matter how much I try to prep myself and brace myself for that fact. Football season is short. And you know, on one hand, that sucks. I mean, nobody likes having their favorite sport season go by quickly. But at the same time, I do think that this is something I really like and appreciate about football. Football is a small sample size sport. That's the term that I always find myself coming back to. You only get 17 games in a season. You only get 60 minutes in a game. You only get about 55-ish plays per team in a game. And those plays, I mean, they're only like, 7 seconds at longest, unless Lamar Jackson is your quarterback. There's just not that much football that happens in a given calendar year, and that's exactly why it feels like the season goes by so fast. And I think that that is one of the big reasons that football is so popular globally. In spite of this small sample size, because of this small sample size, everything means more when everything kind of happens less. The stakes are raised. I mean, it's kind of perfect, to me at least. I love high stakes. I think most people do, and again, I think that's why so many people like football. But one place where I was thinking about this high stakes nature of the sport, this small sample size nature of the sport recently, was in relation to some semi-toxic arguments that were taking place on Twitter regarding the quarterback position and regarding two of the better quarterbacks that we have seen in the last 2 decades, I would say. Jalen Hurts and Cam Newton. I don't know if you saw this. I hope you didn't see this for your own sake. But over the past month or so on the Everything app, there have been a lot of debates about Jalen Hurts, Cam Newton, their respective teams that they took or that took them to Super Bowls, and over the question, who's better? I don't really want to get into those debates here. That's not the point of this video. But I will say these debates are strongly tied to this sample size subject because the reason for these debates taking place this offseason of all off seasons is because, Jalen Hurts, he has something that Cam Newton does not have. A Super Bowl ring. One more win than Cam Newton got in his best season, regardless of how the rest of the season went, and regardless of what those guys' teams looked like in their best years. Jalen Hurts, he's also been to a second Super Bowl. That helps him in these debates too, but that's besides the point. Anyways, I'm not here to get carried away with that argument. That argument's kind of old as of the time of me recording this video. And for what it's worth, I do think there is a pretty clear answer to that question of who is better between Cam Newton and Jalen Hurts. I'm not even going to address that though until maybe the end of this video or the next video. The point of this video is to do an exercise that I have wanted to do for quite some time that I think I now have a very good reason to do, which is highlight the importance of the Super Bowl itself. Highlight the importance of our most important game in the smallest sample size team sport that we have in America. Because I think we all know the Super Bowl is high stakes, right? It's the Super Bowl. Everybody tunes in every year for that exact reason. But I think oftentimes we forget, especially as time passes, just how small the margin for error in these games really is. Just how much of the final outcomes of these games are dictated by factors beyond the control of, say, our quarterbacks and our quarterbacks alone on these Super Bowl teams, and just how malleable we are in our perspectives on the game of football and athletes in the game of football based on these select few plays in a given Super Bowl that could have gone either way. Super Bowl rings change everything. That was the point of this Jalen Hurts, Cam Newton discourse to me. That is one of the big points that I always find myself coming back to when engaging in any football discourse. And today we're going to highlight that even more by engaging in one of the more entertaining and thought-provoking what-ifs I think you can engage in the game of football, related to the game of football. Let's flip every Super Bowl ever. Okay, well, for the sake of this video, not ever, but close to ever. Maybe ever. Maybe we'll do that at some point. For now, let's flip every Super Bowl, going back to Cam Newton and the Denver Broncos in Super Bowl 50. And if you guys like this exercise, we can maybe do a part 2 where I go back to the start of this millennium, if that sounds good. Today, we'll just go back to that fateful Cam game as a testament to the importance of every single play in these games, every moment in these games, but also, again, as a means of highlighting how easily swayed we are when it comes to discussing the legacies of these individual players and their relation to these Super Bowls. I've been rambling. This is a long intro. I like to talk, if you can't tell. So without further ado, let's just get into this exercise by laying down the ground rules. Here's what I'm going to do for each of these Super Bowls that we are going to revise. These rules are important because if I'm not careful, we could be doing butterfly effect conversations all day. So this is what I'm thinking. First order of business. For each of these Super Bowls, I will first enter the realm of fan fiction and come up with my personal take as to what flipped these games in the opposite direction. In one sentence or less, hopefully, I will answer the question, how did the loser of this game become the winner? And I will try to do this in the most realistic manner possible, the most probable, plausible manner possible. Again, this part is not to discredit the winner of these games. This part is to highlight how small the margin for error really is. Next, I'm going to list the top 3 biggest immediate implications of this game being swung the other way. Things that matter immediately, things that we're talking about the next day, things that completely change everything about how we're going to treat that coming offseason and beyond. That's what I'm doing next. And then finally, I am going to hop over to our butterfly effect corner and talk about long-term implications, potential long-term implications, things that we may still be discussing or things that may change about the future of the NFL in coming seasons beyond the discourse in coming years, again, because of maybe 1 or 2 plays going differently in these games. Got it? The game itself, immediate implications, long-term implications. If that sounds good, let's get started because we have got a lot of teams to get through and I have been very long-winded in this intro. I'm sorry about that. I'm going to start in 2024, Chiefs 49ers, and I'm going to go all the way back to 2015 for the sake of this video. And in my next video, if you guys do want me to go back to the year 2000, we'll add in Chiefs Eagles, this most recent Super Bowl, at the very end of that. I feel like it's too recent to do at the very start of this video, but maybe with our newfound wisdom, knowledge, and perspective, it would be fun to explore once we've got like 25 of these under our belt. Not relevant to the point of this video though, so let's begin. 2024, Chiefs 49ers, jumping right into things, Super Bowl 58. I'll try to make this clear too, I guess. In rewriting these games, I'll try to go as far into the game as possible before flipping the script and before rewriting a play. So for example, in this game, we went to overtime, of course. I'm going to be keeping everything up till overtime. Here we go. In this timeline, and this already feels wrong to say, on 4th and 1 from their own 35, with San Francisco up 3, Nick Bosa and the right side of the Niners defensive line commits to Patrick Mahomes on his keeper. The left side does their job too, so Pat isn't going to pivot and hand this one off. And Mahomes is going to be tackled in the backfield. In overtime with the Niners in the lead, game over. San Francisco wins. 1 play difference is all it took. Immediately, Kyle Shanahan is now celebrated as one of the greatest offensive minds of all time. 2 Super Bowls in a 6-year period with 2 different quarterbacks, and in his second one of the 2, he takes down Patrick Mahomes, the man who crushed his hopes and dreams in the first one. This Niners team, in addition, immediately goes down as one of the greatest rosters of all time. Think about that lineup, think about the offense, the defense, the amount of all-pro caliber players they have been harvesting. What now, currently at this moment, may go down as one of the greatest wasted potential rosters of all time. A lot of their guys are getting old. Instead, is going to be immortalized. Christian McCaffrey now joins Cooper Kupp and soon Saquon Barkley as the only offensive players of the year since 1999 to win the Super Bowl in the same year as their Opoy Award. Patrick Mahomes moves to 2-2 in Super Bowls, and Kyle Shanahan beats the choker allegations once and for all for something that his defense does in this overtime period. Funny to think about. The butterfly effect here is hard because it hasn't been that long since this game, but Brock Purdy's contract, it's likely going to increase this past offseason because of a Super Bowl win from 2 seasons ago, and the discourse surrounding Brock Purdy will likely remain too toxic to touch until further notice, because again, as we all know, toothpick changes everything. The Chiefs' three-peat campaign also disappears, which may entirely cloud this upcoming season, where as we know, they were kind of fighting for their lives in a lot of these games, even if the record was great overall. And again, most importantly here, that all happens if one singular play goes differently. Just something to think about. On to the next one. Up next, Super Bowl 57. Eagles win. It's a no call. James Bradberry is not flagged for holding in the fourth quarter of this one with 1:40 to go on third down in a tie game while the Chiefs are in field goal range. And so instead of running out the clock, Kansas City's going to kick. They make the field goal. Philly gets the ball. They drive down. They've been rolling all day after all. And Jalen Hurts, I'm going to say he tush pushes his way into the end zone. That sounds pretty plausible, right? Immediately, if that one holding call goes differently and Philly handles business on the next drive, which is no guarantee, but again, this is the exercise, Jalen Hurts goes down in history with one of the greatest Super Bowl performances, big game performances of all time. It might be even better, again, if he gets the ball one more time too. Our Philly praise regarding their roster, how well it's built, how quickly they recovered from the Carson Wentz era, that's accelerated by 2 years. I mean, we're doing that this offseason, right? Jason Kelce gets his second ring. He wins the Kelce Bowl. And the MVP curse, it continues. Patrick Mahomes does not break that streak. And Patrick Mahomes' discourse, well, 2 Super Bowl losses to 1 win, instead of our current discussions, we probably focus on the fact that in his 2 losses, his defense has really let him down. The Bucs and again now the Eagles. The perception around Steve Spagnuolo may change a little bit. Losing a Super Bowl because your defense fails to get the job done, I mean, that does just kind of change a lot of the perception around him. I remember how Chiefs rookies were celebrating in the locker room after that win, saying, we're only going to get better from here. I mean, you may not be feeling that exact same way after the game if you don't win that game, you know? And now in terms of butterfly effect, long-term effect, I think, again, the Chiefs are important to consider here because this now is another playoff shortcoming. 2 in 2 years, they lost to Joe Burrow and the Bengals the previous year, and we know they have a rough offensive year incoming. Right? That next Kansas City playoff run, 2023, I feel like it was all about belief and experience, confidence stemming from a Super Bowl win the previous season. Who's to say that goes the same way if they're coming off of a Super Bowl loss? Again, this is all speculation. If you're a Chiefs fan, chill. Maybe they're even more driven and angrier now. That could be how this works, but it is worth acknowledging. Because these Chiefs teams of the past 2 years, they have been far from dominant rosters. They've been confident rosters and experienced rosters. And rosters who know what they're capable of because of Super Bowl wins. Next up, we've got Super Bowl 56. This one really gets me going. Now, we've got 2 options here in terms of how this game gets flipped. Either Logan Wilson is not called for holding on Cooper Kupp, and the Rams drive sputters out, it comes to a halt, they don't convert on 4th down, or on 4th and 1 with 40 seconds to go, around midfield, Joe Burrow is handed a designated rollout instead of his standard dropback on this play that buys him the time that he needs to get away from Aaron Donald. And as we know, on this play, Jamar Chase does get open down the sideline. So what if Burrow hits him? What if the Bengals score? What if they score a borderline walk-off touchdown in this Super Bowl to take down Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford, Aaron Donald, and the rest of the Rams? Immediately, Joe Burrow completes one of the greatest 3-year runs by a quarterback in football history. National championship, cursed on the Bengals, injured on the Bengals, comeback player of the year the following season, topped off with a Super Bowl win. Burrow now has, at this point, immediately after this game, as many rings as Patrick Mahomes. He has more than both Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. The Bengals organization finally bucks the curse, again praise to Burrow, and Aaron Donald, Matthew Stafford, Sean McVay, Odell Beckham, Von Miller, Andrew Whitworth, all of these guys now have to walk away from this game ringless. The entire McVay-Shanahan tree is now winless in Super Bowls. That curse continues. Matthew Stafford is now just some guy who was handed a stacked roster through 2 picks in the Super Bowl and was a part of a trade that is now probably going to be viewed as even, instead of a win for the Rams. You know, the one with Jared Goff. I mean, talking butterfly effect here, we truly could go all day. We know that Sean McVay ends up spiraling after this Super Bowl win due to the Rams' struggles the following season and his own Sisyphean, related issues. Aaron Donald, for all we know, could still be playing if he does not get this ring. The Rams are going to have to do a lot in coming years to redeem themselves with the fans after going all in and not completing this run. And to this day, last long-term thing I'll say, Joe Burrow is probably still held in higher regard than Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen because he's taken down Patrick Mahomes, he's won a Super Bowl, he's done so with probably the worst collective rosters of any of these top 4 quarterbacks. I mean, to some, he's probably still even better than Patrick Mahomes, but that's its own thing. We don't have to open that can of worms. Up next, we've got Super Bowl 55, Chiefs versus Bucks. This one's hard, right? Because it was not a close game, but let's say that the Chiefs approach this one with a different game plan entirely. Or, with 55 seconds to go in the first half of this thing, when it's a one-score game, and the Bucks have the ball at their own 29, suppose Andy Reid doesn't try to outsmart, outmaneuver Tom Brady in a 2-minute drill and hand the Buccaneers another touchdown, wasting 2 timeouts. Suppose then that Tom Brady doesn't make this 21-6 with 6 seconds left in the half, and that instead this is a one-score game going into the second half, again with maybe this new Chiefs game plan. I love Andy Reid, but the Andy Reid School of Clock Management is not a place I will be attending anytime soon. Suppose that the Chiefs squeeze out a narrow win here. Immediately, Patrick Mahomes is the Tom Brady killer. He is the GOAT slayer. The future is now, old man. Tom Brady is now ringless in non-Bill Belichick Super Bowls, even though he did make the Super Bowl this season. Patrick Mahomes, the new baby GOAT, now has 2 rings in 2 years. Our beloved Bruce Arians likely retires without a Super Bowl win, and Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski's Tampa tenure, well, it's looked at differently, as a fun sort of blip, kind of like what Brett Favre was up to post-Packers, but nothing more than that maybe. This one's kind of all butterfly effect, just because of the nature of this game itself. It would have had to have been quite different, but I'm definitely drawn to the Brady stuff more than anything. I also think it's worth acknowledging that maybe if Tom Brady doesn't win this game, the Jets approach Aaron Rodgers differently and the Rams approach Matthew Stafford differently. Maybe they don't search for those mercenary veteran quarterbacks to turn things around for their franchises if this doesn't pay off the way that it does for Tampa. Then again, they did make the Super Bowl still, so maybe that's not the case. Who knows? On to Super Bowl 54, Chiefs 49ers. This one's over. Jimmy Garoppolo hits his deep shot. It is not an overthrow, and the 49ers go on to hang on for the win in this thing. Patrick Mahomes is not able to crawl back into this one. Immediately, Kyle Shanahan establishes himself as a top coach and arguably a McVay superior. Andy Reid, for now, remains ringless still. That's wild to think about. And Jimmy Garoppolo now goes down in NFL history with one of the most efficient quarterback seasons ever, topped off with the ultimate accomplishment. Patrick Mahomes now finds himself in the middle of a very rough stretch where he has lost to a 41-year-old old man, lost to Jimmy Garoppolo, and is about to lose to Tom Brady, a 43-year-old man, the next season. Long term here, I mean, there's a lot. Perception is everything, but it makes you ask how much more do teams start to value the 49ers model if this one does pay off? More importantly, what is Jimmy Garoppolo himself's legacy with a ring? Are the 49ers going to go after Trey Lance now? Is Brock Purdy going to enter the picture now? Mahomes and Reid, I'm sure they will likely eventually still get a ring, but when? I mean, the confidence, the knowledge that you can do it once you have done it once. Jalen Hurts recently talked about this. It is everything. It is a tangible thing, and for now the Chiefs would not have it. I mean, overall, the further back we go, the more there is to consider here, right, in terms of butterfly stuff. But this was the Chiefs' origin story, and if this goes differently, everything could go differently. And all it takes is that wasp play, or again, maybe Jimmy G connecting on a deep shot, and this one could have gone differently. All because of one play. Next up, we've got Super Bowl 53 here, 2018. Rewriting a defensive masterclass, it just feels wrong to me. I mean, this game, in some ways it feels like the margin for error in this one was bigger because nothing was happening. Even if you messed up the other team in this one, they were not going to do anything with the ball in their hands. But we've got to come up with something. So for this one, let's either say that Jared Goff connects to Brandon Cooks on his deep shot that was broken up by Jason McCourty, or let's say that Stephon Gilmore drops his potential interception. The Rams make something happen, and the Patriots fail to answer, fail to respond, with the Rams knowing now that they need to accelerate their offense and make something happen. Immediately, Sean McVay is now the youngest coach in NFL history to win a Super Bowl. Kind of like Patrick Mahomes potentially taking down Tom Brady in 2 years' time. This is a big, the future is now, old man moment. I mean, McVay currently is the youngest coach to win a Super Bowl. Can you imagine him doing this when he's, like 33, I think was the age? Taking down Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, to the old guard here. Jared Goff, Todd Gurley, Aaron Donald, they all now go down in history for one of the most memorable team seasons in NFL history, one of the most efficient, effective seasons ever. Remember, this was the year of that legendary Rams-Chiefs shootout. Bill Belichick in this one, he's going to be praised for his game plan, for doing what he can to stifle this Rams attack, but ultimately, it's not going to be enough, so it's probably going to be lost. This masterful game plan, nobody will really remember it, maybe. And Tom Brady, he'll be looked at differently too. This will be the game that Tom Brady blew, even though his head coach did what he could. That 71.4 passer rating with a pick and no touchdowns, I don't think people are going to look too fondly on that. Now, in terms of butterfly effects, the Pats have lost their second Super Bowl in 2 years. Brady, he's going to leave soon regardless, and now you have to ask, how does this affect Bill Belichick? And Jared Goff, too. I mean, does that trade still happen if he has a ring? The Stafford era, does that happen? I mean, there's a lot to discuss. It's really hard to say because we are so far back in NFL history now. The effects would be so much bigger. But again, thanks to maybe Jason McCourty and Jason McCourty alone, we may never know. On to Super Bowl 52. This one is one of my personal favorites. Now, before we go any further, thank you to DraftKings for sponsoring today's video as we near the football season. If you know me and my content well, you might agree, I would hope you would agree, that I am a very particular type of football fan. I do like to bet on the game. I am just very targeted with my choices. I take them seriously because I want them to reflect what I'm actually thinking at the time. I think I'm a very thematic thinker about the game of football. I like to find my overarching narratives, my big picture, common denominators, what have you, rather than being like a variance week-to-week game plan oriented thinker, if you know what I mean. And so for me, that means a lot of long-term plays. I like to kind of call my shot before the season on a couple things and see if I can get them right. Last year, I got the Defensive Player of the Year. After 2 weeks, I'm proud of that. I called Los Angeles making the playoffs in the AFC. And this year, I've got a lot of stuff in mind. I don't know if you know my favorite team. If you don't, I'm going to keep you guessing. I've said it on a couple of other platforms. I think we're really being underrated right now. I'll give you a guess. We got a first-year head coach, second-year quarterback, seasoned play caller, exciting new left tackle and running back. I feel really strongly that their foundational pieces are going to pay off, so that's one team I'm looking at. I'm rambling. Either way, football is back just about, and if you want to try to call your shots, new customers who bet $5 get $200 instantly in bonus bets if you sign up using this link or through my promo code ESQANT. Again, thank you to DK. I am pretty amateur on this whole creation, content, editing, production side, all of that stuff. So I appreciate their support and them helping to make this video possible. Now back to the video. Sorry, Nick Foles, but in this game, Brandon Graham did not strip sack Tom Brady. Or, if we're feeling wild, Rob Gronkowski, well, he catches the Hail Mary. Have you ever seen the replay of that? It's actually really close. That's why I wanted to throw that in. You could also talk about Brandon Cooks when he gets concussed. That's on a 3rd and 2 at the Eagles' 9. Gostkowski goes on to miss a field goal then. If that doesn't happen, that could completely swing things. Imagine the Patriots don't have to run that trick play with Tom Brady. There's a lot of ways to go with this one. It's kind of the inverse of that Pats-Rams game. There was so much happening in this one that if you just do one more thing on offense, or if one less thing happens to you while on offense, everything could be different. Regardless, if the Patriots somehow win this game, if any one of these plays goes a different way, and maybe they have the upper hand for a bit longer in this shootout, well, Tom Brady goes down in NFL history with one of the greatest Super Bowl performances of all time, on his way to ring number 6. If those next 2 Super Bowls still happen, then this is now a guy who's 8-0 in Super Bowls. I mean, if I need to remind you of the stat line, I gladly will. 505 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Imagine getting out of there with a win. With the Pats, of course, going on to be competitive next year too. Danny Amendola, he probably gets a statue. The Philly statue, it doesn't happen. Long term, I mean, this completely changes how we talk about Howie Roseman, the Eagles organization, Doug Peterson, the Philly special, all of that. Instead, Philly fans have to keep waiting for this future Hurts figure to come and save them. Wentz becomes a much bigger what if as well. This will be the game that Wentz didn't get to play in. And instead, we replace that with Patriots three-peat speculation in the coming year. It's a lot. It really is. This one's extra hard for me to wrap my mind around just because, I mean, the Eagles played a perfect game. It really felt like an honorable win that they deserved. But yeah, I mean, if Brandon Cooks doesn't go down, or if one of the many plays in this one goes differently, we could be looking at an entirely different outcome. 2 more to go now. On to Super Bowl 51. This one's going to be painful for a certain sect of fans watching. We're in the thick of the Pats now. I'm just going to say this, straight up. Change anything. Change any one play, and the outcome of this one goes completely different. Kyle Shanahan runs instead of calling a pass that results in a sack. Kyle Shanahan runs the ball instead of calling a pass play that results in a holding. A legitimate running back chips Donta Hightower, delaying him by 1/1,000,000th of a second, and we now no longer have the strip sack fumble. Julian Edelman does not catch that bobbled pass that maybe kinda should have been intercepted. Again, whatever, change anything. Immediately. One of the most cursed franchises in NFL history has their curse broken, and they took down the big bad evil empire in the process. A miraculous Super Bowl to most NFL fans at the time. Matt Ryan's going to the Hall of Fame. He's kind of the inverse of Matthew Stafford in this exercise, right? Similar caliber guys. One won an MVP. One would have won a Super Bowl in his MVP year. Instead, the other one's more remembered, arguably. Julio Jones, too, now goes down in history in a bigger way than previously thought. His catch at the end of this game is immortalized. There's got to be a statue of it outside of the Falcons Stadium. It's all over the Hall of Fame. Receiver stuff, it's one of my favorite what ifs here in part 2, which I really do want to do now that I'm going through this. Larry Fitzgerald and Randy Moss, I want to talk about them really bad. Julio goes down with a top 5 career now, I would say. I was talking to my friends about the Mount Rushmore recently. I think Julio now cements himself as the final guy there because he has something that most other great receivers can't even say they have, a Super Bowl ring, and he played a big part in it, concluding this game with maybe the greatest catch ever, considering the circumstances. On the Patriots side, I know a lot of you probably are not Patriots fans, but think about this. Everything we have ever thought about this team, about their greatness, about their lore, their legendary lore, making them seem almost like a mythical being when they were at the peak of their powers, it's somewhat erased without this incredible comeback. This is the stuff of legend. This sort of game has instilled belief in teams for the rest of NFL history, really. The knowledge that these guys did it, maybe we can too, coming back from that much with that little time to go. We're robbed of our 28-3 jokes. Patriots fans are robbed of the exact sort of thing that makes them Patriots fans, right? Tom Brady is robbed of this. Bill Belichick is robbed of this. This is the Patriots' crown jewel. That's what I'm trying to say. It's now gone. Long term now, I mean, the Patriots, we know they're going to stay relevant, but Dan Quinn now, he may be longer for Atlanta. He's got a ring. Once more, the Patriots are humanized. Kyle Shanahan adds a pretty big accomplishment to his trophy case. I'll say it once more, Matt Ryan's probably a lock for the Hall of Fame. I could go all day with that one. I mean, it's wild, especially with the margin for error. One more time, all it takes is one play. And now finally for Super Bowl 50. The end of this video, but maybe only the end of part 1 of this thing. We'll do this, because I hate the Cam Newton fumble stuff, like the diving on the fumble specifically stuff. I really don't feel like entertaining that, and I don't want to diminish Von Miller for his amazing play. Let's say that Ted Ginn catches, not drops, this third down laser from Cam Newton with about 10 minutes to go in the game. In real life, Ginn drops this pass, the Panthers have to kick a field goal, they hold the Broncos, get the ball back, and that's when Miller's second strip sack occurs. But instead, we could now say that the Panthers connect here, get a new set of downs, they kick, they score, they stop Denver again, and then they do something else on that final drive with potentially a different final score in this game, right? If they're only down by 2, that changes a lot. We could also correct Mike Tolbert's fumble early in the game, any of these other drops, the missed kick from Graham Gano. There's a lot. All I'm trying to emphasize here, though, is that a lot of these things, if you haven't noticed, kind of beyond Cam Newton's control. Immediately, if the Panthers win this game, well, Cam Newton, he goes down in NFL history with one of the greatest quarterback seasons ever. He too breaks the MVP curse. That's been a common theme in this video, right? 15-1 with this poor, mediocre of an offensive supporting cast. With that beautiful, incredible defense, though, we remember this team forever. Peyton Manning does not get his second ring. He does not get to ride off into the sunset. He probably goes down in history slightly differently, remembered as the guy who came up short in a lot of big games. He does not have the same number of rings now as his brother Eli, who somehow has more. That's a weird thread to pull at. Von Miller and this defense, well, they're not remembered exactly the same, even though their feats on the season were pretty incredible regardless. And this one's interesting to me, but you know the whole sentiment of defense wins championships? Well, we probably don't think about that the same way either, because this Broncos team, they are still a relic to this day in relation to that line, that quote, that thought process. Them and the 2018 Patriots, those are the two best examples of this. And even that 2018 Pats team, I mean, they were doing shootouts all the way up to that Super Bowl. This Broncos team, I mean, it really was defense all the way through. To this day, I hear people talk about defense-heavy teams by framing them as, well, what if they can be like the 2015 Broncos? They're remembered differently, and Cam is remembered differently. If perhaps his weapons or his offensive line, they compensate just a bit more, and they do enough to overcome, maybe with one more field goal or whatever else. Long term here, finally, on top of breaking the MVP curse, I think that Cam is now remembered differently for the entirety of his career. I mean, that's how it goes for all Super Bowl winners, right? The shoulder stuff now becomes even more of a what if, and all these narratives about him are different. Organizational treatment may be different for him. All of it. And again, this is all because of maybe, just one play. That's exactly what this exercise is supposed to be about. And that's how I'll conclude part 1 of this thing. I'm hoping to do part 2 soon. I've been recording for a while now. I said that I was only going to do like 3 immediate things per team and 1 long-term thing. Evidently, I lied about that. But I just get carried away because I think this is really fun to think over. These stones are fun to turn over, and this is the exact sort of exercise that gets me hyped for the NFL season. Realizing how intense the stakes are, how prepared and perfect you have to be as a player, as a team, how well coached, all of that. Super Bowls are awesome, football's awesome. I cannot wait for it all to be back, and I hope you enjoyed this. And I hope if you want a part 2 of this, where we talk about things like Randy Moss, Larry Fitzgerald, Peyton Manning some more, all of that, let me know and I'll get on that soon. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.